You see, if I ask you what you're selling, you're going to tell me your products and everything else, but we all sell the same thing. We all sell change. If I'm asking you to buy my product at a higher price, I'm asking you to change your value perception. If I'm asking you to buy my product, if you never used a speaker before, I'm asking you to use a speaker now, you're changing your process and how to use it. If I'm asking you to give up a 30-year relationship and go from the devil you know to the devil you don't know, I'm asking you to change. Change creates pain. All right? And no one's going to give you the answer of yes, which is the answer of risk, if they don't believe that what you're doing is really going to help them. And if we forget about the motivation, we forget about a big piece in how we can truly influence people. If you go back to the issue of Zomed, that medical device company, the motivation was real simple. He didn't want to give out free equipment. He wanted his people to sell it. Now, what I didn't realize was as I was going on the around with the salespeople, and I was going to the surgeons, and I was saying, hey, Doc, what's your biggest issue? What are the three biggest things? Oh, my God. Insurance is paying me less. I'm making less money. What do you want? I want to make more money. But how can you do it? I'm limited to how many times I can operate. I got to find a way to put more cases through. Well, this machine proves that you can get 7 minutes more. How many more minutes? If you got 7 minutes per case, how many more cases can you put through in a year? They started getting interested. And they said, speak to the admins. So I had the same conversation with the admins. What's your biggest issue? Putting more stuff through the operating room. What's preventing you? Time. 7 minutes. How many more cases can you put through? We started getting their attention. Now, the salespeople, because there's motivations on both sides, right? What I didn't realize, they started talking to each other. And they're saying, you better listen to this guy when he comes in. So they were ready for me. And it was a great audience, okay? But when I got in there was 100 sales reps in that room ready for some change because they were tired of being beaten up, and their motivation was they wanted a better result. Do we understand the motivation of our customers? You know what got that $200 million contract for that chemical reagent? If you look at a mining plant, all right, they can't set their pricing. That's done by the exchange. So the only way they control the profitability is by how much stuff they can push through the door. So it's all about keeping the mind working at all times. So they called me up one day. They said, Ron, we got it. I said, what? They said, be like Caterpillar. I said, why? Because Caterpillar has a man on site. Tire breaks, they fix it immediately, and they keep going. We got to be like Caterpillar. And I said, wrong. You want to become the next Caterpillar. Caterpillar already has that benchmark. Let's become the next vendor that they start comparing everybody against. But a man on site, that could work for us. So let's talk about that. If we put a man on site, what would that happen? Well, they can use the right amount of reagent because they're using too much, they're wasting it. We can validate the concerns to the managers. We came up with 20 things that a man on site can produce in terms of outcomes. The hardest thing was selling it to the company because, we wanted something in return. What do you think we wanted in return? If we're going to put our investment in there as a man on site, we wanted this person to have unbridled access to anything he needs. It took a while, but they finally said yes. And then we coined it. We called it a MindSight Services Program, and we trademarked it. When the bid came out, a big part of that bid was what? MindSight Services. And when the other two multinationals queried what they meant by that, it showed their customers they didn't have it, and it gave them permission to pull the bid back and go into a one-on-one negotiation with my customer. I didn't change their chemicals. I didn't change the products. I just simply changed in how we positioned ourselves and presented it based on their needs and their motivation. What's the motivation of your customers? Are you competing versus creating? It's about what I call a velocity mindset. You may want to write this word down. It's called context. Context is the most important word in influence. You see, if I start telling you what you need before you start telling me what's important to you, there's no context to what I'm saying. It lands on deaf ears. But if you tell me what you're saying and I speak in relation to what you just told me, now you're at a 5. You're engaged because it's all about you and it's no longer about me. So, what does it have to do with all of us? It all starts and ends with each and every one of us. It has very little to do with your products and services. You all have good products and services. It has very little to do with what your markets are doing. It's what we are doing, our commitment, and how we're carrying ourselves on that sales call.